Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Environment and Planning Committee. I declare the meeting open at 7 p.m. Acknowledgement of country. I'd like to acknowledge the Bidjigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of all lands, waters and sky in the Torres Strait area. I pay my respect to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who live, work and meet on these lands. Apologies, there are no apologies tonight, and there are no requests to attend via audio-visual link. A notice of live streaming of committee meeting. Staff and public are reminded that this meeting is being recorded for minute-taking purposes and is also being broadcast live to the public on Council's website in accordance with Section 5 of Council's Code of Meeting Practice. The recording will be made available on Council's website. Code of Meeting Practice. The order of business is as shown in the agenda, which has been made available. Staff and public are reminded that this meeting is open. Doors to the meeting room are to be left open unless the meeting moves into a closed confidential session according to Section 14 of the Code of Meeting Practice. Only if the meeting moves into a closed confidential session will public broadcasting of the meeting be suspended. Council's Code of Meeting Practice prohibits the electronic recording of meetings without express permission of Council. Mobile phones must be turned to silent during the meeting. Disclosures of interest. Do any councillor here interested to disclose? Okay, no disclosures.
Sorry, Chair. I've got one.
Sorry,
I've sent it through to over there. So yeah, hopefully it's all through. No.
Okay, you've got the item there. You can.
Yeah, sure. The non-significant, non-pecuniary interest in the ENVO 033-25 Wildlife Protection Area Policy Review and Public Exhibition. Just like to disclose that I'm a member of OFF. So, thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Allison. Any other disclosures? Right, thank you. There are no public speakers registered for tonight's meeting. First item is 02925, confirmation of the minutes of the Environment Planning meeting held on 11th of August 2025. Moved by Councillor Allison. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Jamieson. Thank you. Okay, all those in favour of that item? Please say aye. Thank you. Anybody against? Thanks. Declare that carried. The next item is a committee report. Now we've got two committee reports, and we're going to move into closed conference session to discuss into closed session. If there's any councillors have any questions on those two items, which is ENV 03025 planning proposal for Gateway Termination part of Moore Park, 33 Lock Crescent, Beverly Park, and the other one is ENV 03125 waste collection contract performance monitoring. If there are any councillors that have any questions on those two items, could you please indicate to me now? Okay, in that case, we'll discuss them in open session. Thank you. Yeah, sorry. So the first item is ENV 03025 plan proposed for the gateway determination part of Moore Park, 33 Lock Crescent, Beverly Park. Could I get a mover and second on that report, please? Councillor Allison, Councillor Lansbury. And before we move to a discussion, Mr. Luke Osti, Acting Manager, Strategic Planning, will give us an overview. Thank you, Mr. Osti.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just quickly introduce Andy Zhao, who's the strategic planner, who's been partially looking after this one, but also Andrew Wilson from APP. As this site is council owned, we have outsourced the assessment of the planning proposal given the conflict there. So I'll hand over to Andrew Wilson to do a very brief overview of the proposal for this item.
Thank you, Luke. Good evening, councillors and staff. My name is Andrew Wilson from the APP Group, New South Wales Planning Manager. APP has been engaged to assess the planning proposal to reclassify the land and also to conduct a public hearing into that reclassification. And I've been asked to give a bit of a summary and overview of the proposal and the assessment report this evening. So the planning proposal is to amend the George River LEP to reclassify a part of Council's Moore Park in Beverley Park from community to operational land. The objective and intended outcome of that reclassification is to enable the sale of the land to St George Leagues Club. The background is that Council resolved at a meeting on 24th of June 2024 to proceed with the sale of the land to the club and to use any money derived from that sale towards embellishment or acquisition of other open space land in that ward. And that full resolution is on page 16 and 17 of your report. The area itself comprises 305 square metres of the total 5,840 square metres of Moore Park. It's a small, relatively isolated and underutilised part of the area of Moore Park that adjoins the St George Leagues Club. It's currently fenced off from the remainder of the park. Moore Park itself is a off-leash dog park with a fence around it, and this part that is proposed to be reclassified and sold to the club is outside that fenced area. It's a small triangular bit that's underutilised. It's on the other side of the fence and the other side of a pedestrian path. The reclassification and the sale won't affect the access to Moore Park or to the usability of the remainder of the park. There's fairly, I think, generous areas of open space around that area. Spooner Park and Beverley Park Golf Club are across the road. Of course, the golf club is not public open space, but it adds to the greenery and amenity and the lungs of the urban area, as it's sometimes called. There's Leighton Park, 400 metres to the south, Cobra Park, 100 metres to the northwest, Scarborough Parkland is 500 metres to the east, and Cars Bush Park and Park Flats further to the south. The proposal was considered by the local planning panel meeting on 3 July, and the panel recommended support for the council support the proposal and forwarding it for a gateway determination, subject to investigating whether there's any legal interests on title relating to what they call a trust for a public purpose. And they referred us to court cases in the past where land has been acquired or resumed by council in certain circumstances, and it forms into a trust for a public purpose. So legal advice was sought on that aspect, and that legal advice confirmed that it's unlikely that land is a trust for a public purpose. But there is some uncertainty given that it was resumed in 1937 and there's some documentation that wasn't available for them to review. But their recommendation is that the land be reclassified under what's called Part 2 of Schedule 4 of the LEP, which basically extinguishes any such interests in the land. The proposal in our assessment meets both strategic and site-specific merits of planning proposals as outlined in the Department of Planning's Local Environmental Planning Guideline. In terms of strategic merits, it's consistent with the objectives of the Regional Plan and District Plan Council's LSPS by the fact that it's not a very usable area of open space in the first instance and underutilised, and secondly by the fact that council has resolved that the monies will be used for embellishment or acquisition of other open space in that same ward. On balance, that therefore that we consider that has a strategic merit and aligns with those strategies. In terms of site-specific merits, as mentioned, I don't think it affects the remainder of Moore Park or access to it and the usability of it. There's no changes to built form or development standards or anything in relation to that. There's no effect on the zoning of the parkland. There's no minimal social economic effects. There's no sort of environmental hazards associated with the land. It won't affect any critical habitats or threatened species. It will not create any additional demand on public infrastructure or public costs. And of course, is to be implemented in a way that ensures future sale proceeds are directed towards improving other public open space within the locality. So on those bases of strategic merit and site-specific merit, the recommendation for you is that it proceed to the Department of Planning for a gateway determination, after which it would be placed on public exhibition and a public hearing held, and then reported back to council with submissions, reports and recommendations on proceeding to gazettal. So I think that pretty well covers the summary of the report.
Mr. Wilson, do any councillors have any questions or comments on that report? Okay, if there's no questions or comments, I'll call for a vote on that item, please. Go in the room, please.
Mayor Councillor Ball.
For.
Councillor Marnie.
For.
Councillor Allison.
For.
Councillor Arthur.
For.
Councillor Jamieson.
For.
Councillor Lansbury.
For.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. I declare that carried. The next item is ENV 03125, waste collection contract performance monitoring. And before we go into discussion, Ms. Ballasty is a coordinator environmental. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Mr. Spooner is our manager, environment, health and regulatory services. Will give us an overview. Could I call for mover and seconder, please? Councillor Lansbury, Councillor Allison. Mr. Spooner, thank you. Tom just. So it is Liz, is it? Oh. Yeah, my apologies. It is Ms. Ballasty from the staff who's going to give us a report.
Through the chair. Through the chair. This is a confidential report in addressing a resolution of council dated the 26th of May 2025. So given it is a confidential report, I won't verbally confirm some of the details of the report. I'll give a high-level summary. Essentially, the report details how council is managing its waste collection contract through the application of any performance management measures. It also addresses a couple of key considerations for the performance of the waste collection contract as may be experienced by the community. So that includes three key things: missed services, missed bin collections, the detail of any penalties or deductions applied to the waste collection contractor, and the feasibility of providing any rate relief back to members of the community. Essentially, missed services are within or very close to the baseline amount that has been approved by council as part of the waste collection contract. The exception to that is a increase in missed bin collections, which was experienced largely between February to July. That corresponds with two key programs that council delivered during that time period. The first was the change in bin collection day, which was March, and the bin replacement program, which was delivered between March and July. We would expect that the number of missed bin collection services, had we had the ability to keep monitoring, and as we do keep monitoring those services over time, that they will reduce back to pre-change levels, which are outlined within the report. In terms of penalties and deductions applied to the waste contractor, the figures are contained within the report. So given it's confidential, I won't go into too much more detail on those figures. but council does actively enforce the contract management and performance management of the contractor. The application of any penalties are to essentially incentivise improved performance and not just penalise poor performance. In terms of offering any rate relief, the most appropriate avenue for offering rate relief to the community would be through the fees and charges, which council considers each year and publishes on its website. Those fees and charges have positively reduced between the financial year 2024-25 and financial year 25-26. So residents, ratepayers essentially, are benefiting from a form of rate relief through reduced fees and charges, which is payable through their rates account for a year. And an additional part of the resolution also sought for council to consult with Bayside Council in terms of its implementation of the waste collection contract and any differences between Georges River and Bayside Council in implementing it. There were really just four key areas where differences did occur in the two councils implementing the services. That was particularly around garden organics bin collection services, contractor performance management and expectations, bin replacement program and resourcing. And the details of those differences are outlined within the confidential report. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Ballasty. Are there any questions on that agenda item? Noting that if there are any questions relating to the contract, I need to go into confidential session.
Not confident.
Councillor Jarrison.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm. So, just reading with the report, if I got it right, that Bayside also confirmed that they went through similar situations, had difficulties during the handover.
That's correct.
And then we also have reduced costs that you mentioned. And I think if we're right, we were only one of 6 councils that actually had a reduction in costs.
I think it was less than that from memory. I think we were actually the only council that had a reduction. There were maybe 2 or 3 from memory councils that had that had no increase or reduction. We were the only ones who actually reduced.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries.
Councillor Jarrison, any other questions or comments?
Chair, last question.
Is that appropriate? They're not the committee, so. Yeah, Mr. Tuxford, can I get you to rule on that question, please? Thank you.
Okay. Is that easier? I can talk.
You, Councillor Pundit, do you want to ask that outside of this meeting via council request or similar?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out.
No, it's okay. Yeah, we'll go ahead with
Thank you,
Councillor Arthur,
Mr. Chair.
thanks.
While we've waited for the General Manager, I think most of Leon's questions will probably be to do with the confidential provisions anyway, so it may all be for nothing. But I think without looking at those sort of confidential parts of the report, we talk about expecting a further reduction in miscollection sort of naturally. Are there any planned actions to try and accelerate that, or is it just sort of wait for it to happen?
At this stage, we would expect that the missed bin collections would have already reduced. By the time that the reporting closed off for this report, they weren't included in the report, but that we are already seeing them reduce. As I said, the key reasons for that are the completion of 2 main projects. So the first one was the bin collection day change and the bin replacement program. So the bin replacement program officially concluded in August. And therefore we would continue to maintain the contract in line with BAU, which was processes prior to the commencement of both those projects. So by maintaining our BAU and continuing to aim to deliver a sustainable waste collection service, we would expect that it would resume.
And so we say we expect that the collections have already continued reducing. Trying to figure out how to phrase this to not step on the confidential part. Will we say they've reduced to roughly the level they were before, or still higher than what they were before? In terms of a rough estimate.
Through you, Chair, Council, there is no real issue discussing how we're managing the reduction of missed services. It's public information. There are missed services, and in terms of what we're doing and meeting weekly and fortnightly and critiquing our waste hotline performance and our customer service statistics, we are constantly looking at ways we can reduce the missed service and address every missed service. So that's not particularly confidential. The number has trended down. It will continue to trend down at every opportunity. It's about working with Veolia, the contractor, to get the best possible performance. So the micro level is looking at the waste hotline, which you will know about. We receive a lot of customer service inquiries as well with Ms. Dodd and her team. That's constantly feeding back through our team and to the contractors, so they know where their performance is at and where to improve.
Fair enough. And one more, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair. Just from my understanding of the report, the number of missed collections that's referenced, it says it comes through through the waste hotline, like you referenced. Would you say the numbers in the report, that's the floor or the ceiling? You know, in terms of if there's collections out there that we've missed but we still don't know about, would we say the numbers that we've got here in our reporting, is that the minimum number we've missed or the maximum number we've missed? Roughly.
Through you, that's the maximum.
Okay.
Through you, Chair, just a comment on the missed collection data. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we're council in a much better position now under this new contract with the new bins, with the smart technology, to be able to monitor and provide real and accurate information to the community on this collection because of the new system that we've implemented. Whereas before we were reliant upon people calling or reporting the missed collection. Is that right? So now we know in fact what is happening out there in the community.
That's correct.
Yeah, so we're better positioned to be able to manage it, whereas before we were a little in the dark.
That's correct.
Councillor Payne.
I think Councillor has probably asked a question. If I can ask a question about asking a question, if I'm to talk about some of the attachments, in particular Bayside's one, does that trip us into confidential?
Does you?
Yeah, it does. Okay. Well,
If you, maybe ask inside the meeting for the official channels.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think if there's another way to put it, but I don't think there is.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you for your indulgence.
No worries. Any other questions from the councillors? Okay, so I'll put this to a vote. Go in the room, please.
Mayor, Councillor Ball.
For.
Councillor Marnie.
For.
Councillor Allison.
For.
Councillor Arthur.
For.
Councillor Jamieson.
For.
Councillor Lansbury.
For.
That's 6 votes for, unanimous.
Thank you. I declare that carried. The next item is ENV 03225, soil separation at public place litter bins trial. Could I get a move and second for that report, please? Councillor Allison, Councillor Jamieson. And before we move to a discussion, Mr. Spooner, who's the Manager Environmental Health and Regulatory Services, is going to give us an overview.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This report is as a result of a resolution that was passed by Council in 2024 to look at the possibility of a trial to place or have a mechanism by which we can source separate return and earn eligible containers from public place litter bins. Apologies that this report has taken some time to come to council. We've been rather busy with some major changes to the waste collection schedules. And as a result of that, this has been delayed. Yes, it is feasible. We can do that, and we've looked at how that might work. We've looked at a budget to do that. We've looked at locations that we may wish to place, particularly looking at what other councils have done with cages or some sort of basket system attached to the existing public place litter bins to enable members of the public to put their return and earn containers in those containers, and other members of the public who wish to partake in that process can then take those and take them to the return and earn outlets. So it's helping to remove, valuable material out of our waste stream and helps us reduce our contamination rates. There's a number of things that we need to look at before we can do that. Clearly, we're identifying that this will not be able to occur until next financial year. We're not in a position to do that. We also would like to be able to do an audit of all our park and public place litter bins before we move forward with any other major changes. We've also got to identify who's going to be maintaining this, whether it's going to be our contractor. There's no current provision in our contract for that to occur, or whether that will be done internally by our city cleansing team. And one of the positives for us is that there are a number of other SS Rock councils doing an audit at the moment, doing a trial, so we can hopefully leverage off that, and that may provide us with some valuable information to assist us with moving forward. But the reality is that it'll be 26-27. We need to get some funding in that budget to do that, and the program will take probably between 3 to 6 months as a trial, and then we'll come back to council with a further report to advise on whether it's worth continuing with the trial, whether we roll that out across all of our bins. But we're planning on putting using two bins in our CBD area, one in a street situation and then another in a park, just to see how they work, how the contamination works, and the cost and effectiveness of those particular measures. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Mr. Spooner. Do any councillors have any questions or comments?
Yes,
Councillor Allison.
Mr. Chair. Andrew, that sounds like a great thing to happen. Especially given, I'm not sure if I've read this, but is there going to be a spirit bottles and wine bottles are also included in the deposit legislation?
Yeah, through the chair, Ms. Balesti can probably give you the exact date, but there will be an expansion of the eligible containers to include larger wine bottles, alcohol bottles. Elise, are you familiar with the date when that commences?
Sorry, I don't have the date.
And the other thing was with bins in parks and that sort of thing, with the yellow bins or the red bins, are the yellow ones, do they tend to go into waste or do they tend to go into recycling?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the intention is that it'll be the same as your household bins. Yellow lidded bins are for recycling, and the recycling material will be picked up and collected and taken to processing at a recycling facility. Thanks.
Okay. Anyone else have a question or comment? Okay, in that case, I'll put the motion. Go to the room, please.
Mayor Councillor Ball,
For.
Councillor Marnie,
For.
Councillor Allison,
For.
Councillor Arthur,
For.
Councillor Jamieson,
For.
Councillor Lansbury.
For.
That's 6 votes for, unanimous.
Thank you. I declare that item carried. The next item is ENV 03325 Wildlife Protection Area Policy Review and Public Exhibition. Can I get a mover and seconder on that report, please? Councillor Lansbury, Councillor Allison. Thank you. And before we move to any discussion, Mr. Simpson, as a Senior Environmental Officer, is going to give us an overview.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just by way of background, the Georges River Wildlife Protection Area Policy was adopted in 2022 originally, with the aim of the policy to protect biodiversity by managing the impacts of roaming cats and off-leash dog areas in these areas. And they are declared by the local authority under the Companion Animals Act 1998. As mentioned, in 2022, the original policy was adopted and 19 areas were declared as Category 2 wildlife protection areas where cats are prohibited and dogs are permitted along established paths, traps and roadways. These sites all remain the same in the 2025 draft wildlife protection area policy attached to the report. The 2025 draft wildlife protection area policy includes amendments minor in nature, such as updated related documents and references, simplified definitions, clearer criteria for declaring new wildlife protection areas, amendments to the actions for council for newly declared wildlife protection areas, and improved readability and standardisation across the document. It is recommended that the draft policy be public exhibited for at least 60 days with a follow-up report with the outcomes from community feedback and any proposed amendments. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Simpson. Are there any questions or comments from the councillors, please? Okay, if there's no discussion, I'll put it to a vote. Carry room, please.
Mayor Councillor Ball.
For.
Councillor Marnie.
For.
Councillor Allison.
For.
Councillor Arthur.
For.
Councillor Jamieson.
For.
Councillor Lansbury.
For.
6 votes for, unanimous.
Thank you. I declare that carried. There being no other business on the agenda, I'll declare this meeting closed at 7:31 p.m. Thank you.